A woman wakes up in shock to find that her wings have been cut off by her boyfriend. As a fairy, the woman breaks down and starts crying loudly. Her sobs reach her boyfriend, who hasn't left yet. However, Stefan, heartless and cruel, pretends not to hear and leaves with her wings. He returns to the palace and throws the wings heavily onto the king's bed. The startled king asks him what he's doing. Stefan opens the wings and tells the king that he has killed Maleficent to avenge him. The king praises his good work and promises to fulfill his promise of passing the throne to him. Meanwhile, she picks up a withered branch and uses magic to turn it into a cane. Leaning on the cane, she barely manages to walk. At this moment, she still doesn't know why her boyfriend did this. She sinks into depression, unable to pull herself out. One day, she stumbles upon a hunter who has captured a raven. Feeling sympathy, she uses magic to turn the raven into a man. The hunter, terrified, flees with his dog. The raven, grateful for Maleficent's kindness, volunteers to become her servant. She sends him to the castle to scout the enemy's movements. The raven arrives at the palace and witnesses Stefan being crowned king. He has indeed become the king as he wished. The raven immediately returns to tell Maleficent what he saw. Upon learning the truth, Maleficent is furious. Feeling that her love was in vain, she cannot believe that years of love were discarded for a throne. From then on, she vows revenge. Maleficent turns to darkness, and a heavy darkness engulfs the entire Moor's kingdom. From then on, she becomes cold-blooded, killing gods and demons alike. One day, Stefan's daughter is born. The raven immediately gets the news and informs Maleficent, also telling her that the king plans to hold a grand celebration for his daughter. Maleficent becomes eager, as she has thought of the perfect way to exact her revenge. On the day of the celebration, 3 fairies who betrayed Maleficent come to bless the princess. The red fairy grants the princess unparalleled beauty, while the blue fairy grants her a life free from worry. But just as the green fairy is about to give her blessing, a fierce wind blows, extinguishing the candles and blowing the fairies away. The fierce wind causes panic, and a demon's shadow appears in the palace. Maleficent arrives uninvited and finally confronts Stefan. Stefan, showing no courtesy, quickly regrets his actions. Maleficent ignores his protests and forces her way to bless the princess, eliminating the 3 traitors in the process. Looking at the innocent baby, Maleficent immediately casts a spell, blessing the princess with beauty and grace. Just as Stefan thought Maleficent was showing mercy, she turns and sees the glowing spindle, immediately cursing the princess. In desperation, the king kneels and begs Maleficent to spare his innocent daughter. Maleficent softens for a moment and leaves a sliver of hope. However, she adds an unbreakable curse, which she later regrets deeply. After Maleficent leaves, the king, furious, orders all spinning wheels in the kingdom to be sealed in the deepest dungeons and burned, then declares war on the Moor's kingdom. In response, Maleficent uses magic to grow a wall of thorns around the Moor's kingdom, sealing it off from the outside world. In secret, the king entrusts his daughter to the care of 3 fairies, instructing them to take her to a remote village and raise her, only to return when the curse is broken after her 16th birthday. To protect the princess in secret, the 3 fairies transform into humans and vow not to use magic, raising her as an ordinary human. Though they thought they were safe, the raven had followed them all the way, bringing Maleficent to the village. Maleficent peers through the window and sees the little princess, but to her surprise, the baby is not afraid of the evil fairy. On the surface, Maleficent harbors resentment toward the daughter of her enemy, but in reality, her maternal instincts start to take over, and she secretly begins watching over the princess's life. The 3 fairies, inexperienced in caring for a baby, leave the princess crying helplessly, even attempting to feed her sour carrots out of desperation. This chaotic scene is too much for the raven, and Maleficent, hiding nearby, is on the verge of losing her temper. But she waits until nightfall, when the fairies are asleep, and sends the raven with a flower, feeding its nectar to the princess. The next morning, Maleficent retaliates against the clueless fairies by conjuring a storm inside their house, complete with lightning and thunder, to teach them a lesson. As time passes, King Stefan becomes more and more paranoid, eventually leading his army to invade the Moor's kingdom. The soldiers launch a full-scale assault, using fireballs to set the thorny walls ablaze. Just when they believe victory is in sight, Maleficent strikes back, raising the burning thorns and smashing them down upon the invading forces. The vines fight back with fury, routing the human army and ending the battle swiftly. King Stefan, witnessing his army's defeat, erupts in a fit of rage. Furious but calm, the king devises a new plan, knowing that Maleficent's only weakness is iron. He orders blacksmiths to forge weapons specifically to defeat her. Meanwhile, Maleficent, with nothing else to do, uses magic to play tricks on the 3 traitor fairies. causing them to bicker and hurt each other. Later, she notices the princess chasing a butterfly, unaware that it leads her to the edge of a cliff. In a split second, Maleficent gives a subtle look and uses magic to rescue the princess with plants from the cliffside, saving her from disaster. However, the princess accidentally spots Maleficent. Maleficent tries to push her away, but to her surprise, the princess is not afraid of the dark fairy, and instead, she runs toward her for a hug, and she picks up the sweet little princess, allowing her to play with her strange attire. 15 years pass in the blink of an eye, and the princess grows into a bright and joyful young woman. During this time, Maleficent has silently watched over her, protecting her without even realizing it. One day, the princess curiously wanders to the thorny barrier surrounding the Moor's kingdom. Driven by curiosity, she wants to venture into the moors. Maleficent, unable to resist, grants her wish. With a spell, Maleficent takes her inside to see her reaction. Upon reaching the destination, Maleficent hides and then lowers the princess with magic. The princess wakes up to the gloomy and eerie sight before her, but instead of fear, she feels a strange sense of familiarity and begins playing with the creatures of the dark forest. Suddenly, the creatures notice Maleficent's presence and flee in a panic. The princess also senses Maleficent nearby. At the princess's repeated invitation, Maleficent slowly steps out of the shadows. The princess is initially startled, but she quickly recognizes Maleficent. It turns out that the princess has always known about Maleficent's presence. For 15 years, she had been like a mother figure, watching over her. She even remembers the raven, realizing that they had been silently protecting her all along. The three of them feel like a family, and the princess is overjoyed, feeling as if she has come home. Maleficent looks at the innocent girl and begins to reflect deeply. Maleficent feels a sense of peace, until suddenly a lump of mud is thrown, frightening one of the creatures. At first, it seems like Maleficent is going to lose her temper, but she doesn't. Instead, she joins in the fun, playing with the princess and the creatures. Looking at this pure, innocent girl, Maleficent begins to regret the curse she had placed on her. She immediately tries to undo the curse. However, it was of no use, as the curse she had placed was unbreakable. The 16th birthday curse could not be undone. Maleficent grows anxious, knowing that the girl will, on her 16th birthday, prick her finger on a spindle and fall into a death-like sleep from which only true love's kiss could wake her. The girl wanders into a hidden chamber filled with spinning wheels, as King Stefan had ordered them all destroyed 15 years ago. But under the curse's power, one will remains, fully restored. Driven by the curse, the girl unknowingly pricks her finger on the spindle, and the curse immediately takes effect, causing her to collapse, unconscious. Maleficent senses the tragedy, falling into endless sorrow. She sneaks into the palace with the prince, using magic to wake him. The fairies, hearing the noise, open the door and confirm the prince's identity. They push him into the princess's chamber, urging him to kiss her, believing true love's kiss will wake her. At the same time, Maleficent quietly slips into the room, hiding behind a screen. The prince kisses the princess on the lips, but nothing happens. The princess remains asleep, as it is clear the prince's kiss is not one of true love. Disappointed, the fairies immediately chase the prince out. Heartbroken, Maleficent, filled with regret for her past mistakes, kisses the princess on the forehead as a final goodbye and prepares to leave in sorrow. To her surprise, the princess awakens, breaking the curse. True love's kiss wasn't just about romantic love but also motherly love. Just as they begin to celebrate, soldiers inform King Stefan that the witch Maleficent has arrived. As Maleficent and the princess are about to leave the castle, a massive iron net falls from the sky, trapping her. The iron chains burn her skin, and the guards rush in, attacking her with weapons. In desperation, Maleficent turns the raven into a dragon, who wreaks havoc in the palace, breathing fire and attacking the guards. In the chaos, the dragon rescues Maleficent, tearing away the iron net. Together, they continue the battle, causing mayhem in the palace. In the midst of the commotion, the princess hides in a secret chamber and accidentally discovers Maleficent's wings, which King Stefan had cut off. Meanwhile, Maleficent is surrounded by guards, on the brink of death, and the dragon is entangled in iron chains. King Stefan himself steps in, using iron chains to subdue Maleficent. In a last-ditch effort, the princess pushes over a cabinet, smashing the glass and freeing Maleficent's wings. Just as King Stefan is about to deliver the final blow with his sword, the wings fly back to Maleficent and reattach to her, fully restoring her strength. King Stefan is truly doomed.